speaking of telling the truth, let's get into this story here with Kim Iversen and RFK Jr. Now, Kim will be here tomorrow, so I can talk to her, about this more when she's here. But Kim did interview RFK Jr. She's interviewed him before, but this is, I think, is the first time she's interviewed him since he's announced his candidacy for president. Now, before we get into what she asked him, because there's one part of this interview I really want to hone in on. I want to show you his announcement video first, because it's related to the question. So let's dive in.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Every nation has a darker side, and the easiest thing for a politician to do is to appeal to our hatred and our anger and our bigotry and greed and xenophobia and all of the alchemies of demagoguery. My father and my uncle had a vision for America, a vision of racial harmony, of prosperity for all Americans, of peace in the world, and of honest government. Their lives were tragically cut short, and America took a different path. Yet the possibility they foresaw is still alive. The American
Sebastian said better video than Joe Biden. The Biden announcement video looks like a Budweiser commercial.
America that almost was, and yet may be. I've been fighting corporate corruption my entire life, but I understand that today the problem is much larger than a few crooked individuals. The problem is a system that no longer serves the people, and a people who are so divided and so fearful that they are easily ruled. It's time to unlearn the reflexes of fear and blame and find ways to unify ourselves and turn our country around. I won't pretend to you that it will be easy, but I know what it will take. My father said it: love, wisdom, and compassion toward one another. And that's where we need to start. We will scale down the war machine and bring our resources home. We will rebuild our water systems, repair our roads, modernize our railroads, and clean up our environment. We will also clean up government and earn back the people's trust.
Hold on to that part right there. Clean up government and win back the people's trust. Hold on to that part.
We will end the secrecy, the censorship, and the surveillance. We will
secrecy, censorship, and surveillance.
Will again be a fearless land of liberty.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
We will face honestly the darker parts of our history, the genocide, the racism, not to shame or blame or punish, but to repair as best we can in a spirit of compassion and kindness toward all. I'm inviting all of you to join me to create an America that we can believe in and be proud of again. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States.
Okay. I wanted you to see that announcement because this question that Kim is asking him here, oh, God, we've been here before. We have been here. And I want you to hear this. Now, Oz, shout out to Oz because he shared this. Oz said advice can save a nation if it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Let's hear what Kim asked him. Kim asked RFK Jr. the $1 million question yesterday, and this is what everyone wants to hear, I think, for the most part. Listen to this.
In the end, and this is what happened in 2020, in the end, when they say, well, Joe Biden's the candidate and that's it, are you going to endorse him for president when you decide, if you decide you're not going to run?
I'm in it to win it, so I'm not thinking of a plan B.
Okay. My own.
Isn't that the same thing that Marianne said? Isn't that the same thing? Didn't Marianne say the same thing? Like she's doing it so she can win, and we get that. But this question is very crucial. And in his announcement video, when he says that we need to clean up our government, you're not going to clean up the government if you continue to allow the status quo to exist. And that means that if you continue to do what Bernie Sanders did and tell people, well, we can't get Trump or we can't get whoever else is running out there. We can't get them. So you got to support Joe Biden. Nah, that's not going to clean up anything. Because Joe Biden is straight corporate. So is Trump. So is DeSantis. So is Nikki Haley. None of them people are grassroots. So listen, because Kim, she's gonna push here.
I'm in it to win it. So I'm not thinking of a plan B.
Okay. My only advice is don't do that. If it comes down to that, and the Democratic Party is just saying, we're not going to put you on the ticket, and that's that. Don't endorse Joe Biden, pivot, go independent, but the last thing you should do is say, yeah, this is okay, fine, concede, don't do it. That's just the one thing that I would say. But I definitely.
How come you have no faith in my candidacy?
I don't have any faith in the Democratic Party. I have a lot of faith in your campaign. I have no faith at all, zero, zilch, none in the Democratic Party. I don't think that they're going to allow you to become the candidate. I think that they've already shown that, and they're going to put Joe Biden on the ticket, and none of us are going to have a choice about it. I think the only thing you could do is your campaign could continue to grow in momentum, of course, which you are. That would be challenging to the Democratic Party, but they will ensure that the establishment media suppresses that information so that they don't see that you're actually growing, because they know that that would have an avalanche effect, that when people start to see that you're actually growing in the polls and that more people are interested in your message, then others are wanting to check that out. They're going to suppress that. I just have no faith at all in them. So I think it's inevitable that Joe Biden's going to end up being the candidate, and you're going to have to pivot. And that might not be such a bad thing. I think
we're going to pause here for just a second because there's something I want to add. Notice she said you're going to have to pivot. And one of the things he said in his announcement video, he talked about his father, he talked about his uncle. I think that he is thinking of how the Democratic Party used to be, right? When it was for the working class. The Democratic Party now is owned by corporations and super PACs and other PACs and super delegates. And I honestly wonder, before Kim asked that question, I wonder if he actually thought about that. Because that is the $1 million question. That is where Bernie has failed multiple times. That's the same question that people were asking Marianne as well. In the end, are you going to tell people to support Joe Biden? And we cannot go into any presidential election primary going forward after what we saw in 2016 and not question the ability and the stronghold of the super delegates, how they are able to give delegates to one particular candidate, even if one candidate won every county in the state. We saw that happen with Bernie Sanders with West Virginia. He won every county in West Virginia, and the super delegates still gave it to Hillary Clinton. The DNC fraud lawsuit, what did they argue in court? That they are actually allowed to do that they're allowed to pick the person if they want to. So we cannot avoid this question. Let's go on.
End up being the candidate, and you're going to have to pivot. And that might not be such a bad thing. I think ultimately you could win this. I don't know if on the Democratic ticket, I get it. Dennis Kucinich is the same way. He doesn't want to give up the Democratic Party, but I think the Democratic Party gave you up. And
that's right. You better preach. You better say it. The Democratic Party gave up all of us long time ago. They gave up the workers. They gave up the middle class. How you lose the middle class? They gave up all of us. And they decided to be the party that supports Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, bankers, elite, Ivy League graduates. That's what the Democratic Party has become. And I think Kim is 100% dead on here. To say, like, for Dennis as well, to say, I don't want to give up the Democratic Party. They don't want you. They don't want you. It's like trying to force an invite to a party that you were not invited to. It's like showing up to someone's wedding and you didn't get an invite. I want to be here, but they don't want you there. So after watching this, and please go watch the full interview. You can see this on Rumble. Watch the full interview there, because I don't know if he thought about this.
The same way. He doesn't want to give up the Democratic Party, but I think the Democratic Party gave you up. And so what are you going to do? They broke up with you. You know, you at some point have to accept it. And this is one of those times, I think that, but hey, the challenge is helpful for press, I think, to continue challenging Joe Biden. I do think that helps from a media perspective. Of course, they want to see, oh, this, you know, you're being censored, you're being silenced, you're not being allowed onto a debate stage with him. So I think that is actually good for your campaign for a while, but then there's going to be a period of time when it isn't. And
that's right. That's right. Right now, that doesn't really matter so much. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where people are going to want to see you guys debate or have some type of dialogue with each other. And as long as Joe Biden continues to hide because he doesn't know where he is, let's just be real, this is not likely to happen. Not likely to happen. Now, one of you guys, you mentioned this to me on call-in the other night, that you wanted me and Kim to host our own debate. I'll ask Kim tomorrow when she comes on. But it'll be funny because it's not like Joe Biden's going to show up. Joe Biden's not going to come on independent media. And so it'll be just kind of weird. It would just be Marianne and RFK Jr., but maybe people will want to see that. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that I sincerely hope, after what Kim said to him, that he is waking up to the reality here. The Democratic Party is not the way it was when JFK was alive. It's not the way it was when RFK was alive. The Democratic Party doesn't even care about the people anymore. Democratic Party cares about money and corporations. Very different time.
And I hope you pivot. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I'm hoping you're not such a great soothsayer, Kim. And that
I understand. I totally get it. I get your perspective. I'm a realist. That's who I am. So, but yeah.
Look, you make a compelling argument, and I hope that the situation in our country is not as grim as you portray it, but it may be. We'll see.
But it is.
See.
This part right here, you guys. See, I'm telling you, I don't think he realized this. Listen to this.
Look, you make a compelling argument, and I hope that the situation in our country is not as grim as you portray it, but it may be.
It is, though. It is exactly what Kim said. There is no maybe. The situation politically in this country with the electoral process, it is actually that grim. So Kim's a realist. Sometimes people don't like people like us. Like, I'm a realist too. I tell you guys this all the time. Like, I'm a straight shooter. I just give it right at you. Some people don't like that. Some people get upset. Some people, sometimes their feelings get hurt. I'm sorry. My bad. But I am not the type of person that will twist things in a way just so you feel comfortable with this system and think that there's hope the way that it is set up now. I'm not that person. I am a realist. Sometimes that makes some people feel sad. Sometimes that makes some people angry. But I'm going to give it to you straight. So I just... I don't know, man. I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm a big fan of your campaign and your message. I've gone through a lot of the things that you stand for, and I think that you really do represent the majority of Americans. I really believe that. So I would love to see nothing more than a President Kennedy. That's what I would love to see. So, but, and that's, so that's why I'm just giving you my truthful opinion on that. But best of luck to you on the campaign trail. Definitely will be watching, and I'll definitely be following everything, and hope to talk to you again in the near future about it, about how things are going, which I hope they'll go well.
I always love talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Best of luck today and tomorrow on Good Morning America.
So I think, Kim's realism might have just broke his heart a little bit there, because did he seem a little like, I don't know, to you guys, right? He seemed a little shaky there, like when she, gave him the realness. But it needs to be said. It needs to be said. Now, there's a little bit more. Something else I want to show you too. Shout out to Neoliberal Tears for this, because he was on another podcast and he talked about how he feels about Bernie Sanders, what Bernie Sanders is doing right now. Listen to this. Neoliberal Tears, thank you. He was on a podcast called Clay and Buck. Listen to what he said about Bernie Sanders. Balls. Hold on. I gotta stop saying that. Let me refresh it. Sometimes Twitter videos do that. If it's not, it's been chilling for a minute. Here we go.
To me, over the past couple of weeks, one of the disappointing things that happened to me over the past couple of weeks that I witnessed was Bernie Sanders, who,
Eric, we may need to turn the volume up on this one because it's a little low, and then I don't know. You know how Twitter is sometimes.
That I witnessed was Bernie Sanders, who,
Thanks. And then let me know if I need to do it through if I can do it through my browser, because Twitter is just, sometimes the videos on Twitter do this. While we're doing this, if you haven't had a chance to do so, hit that like button, guys. Smash it, smash it, smash it. Peanut butter, jelly, smash it. All right, I think we got it now. Thanks, Eric. If it keeps doing it like that on Type VNC, I can put it over here. If you just let me get the link. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna do it on I actually don't even have to. I don't even have to maximize it. I could just play it here. Sometimes that works out better.
Things that happened to me over the past couple of weeks that I witnessed was Bernie Sanders, who,
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take it from here. Doop. Pivot over here. Paste. All right. I think it'll do it over here. Let me just share my screen really quick. Move that. Present. Sometimes it does this when it's just audio. I don't know. Twitter's weird. But anyway, I think I can do it from here. All right.
One of the disappointing things that happened to me over the past couple of weeks that I witnessed was Bernie Sanders, who endorsed the president. And essentially, he's been the leader of the progressive wing of the party, and he got nothing in return. And it was very, very odd that he would do that, because he's been against war. He's been against corporatism. He's been against this merger of state corporate power that President Biden represents, with, surrounded by all of his Wall Street people and his neocons and all the people who are now, running the White House. And it's very, very odd to me that, that Bernie Sanders would have done that. And I don't know what motivated him, but that to me is, I think, the biggest disappointment.
Well, we appreciate your.
One of the disappointing things that happened to me over
Whoops, I was muted. Sorry. What he said is that Bernie's been the leader of the progressive wing of the party. Let me come out of here. Pop this in. Let me pop this in here. Sorry. I'm just going to read it to you now. He said Bernie's been the leader of the progressive wing of the party, and he got nothing in return. He's been against this merger of state and corporate power that President Biden represents, surrounded by all of these Wall Street people and neocons who are now running the White House. And then he went on to say a little bit more. And all I have to say is, exactly, Bernie was a sellout. Exactly. And I think that just points to the powers of the party. Now, the DNC did decide that they're not going to have primary debates, of course. And he did respond to that, to Joe Biden, actually. I have known and liked Joe Biden for many years, but we differ profoundly on fundamental issues such as corporate influence in government, censorship, civil liberties, poverty, corruption, and war policy, among others. I look forward to engaging him in debates and town hall meetings in a primary election that is honest, civil, and transparent. I invite him into a new era of respectful dialogue in these times of division. And I think there seems to be a little bit of I feel like it comes across a little bit naive, because the system is not set up that way. Also, he needs to stop liking Joe Biden. I don't know what it is with the peoples. I don't know why Bernie's like, Joe Biden's my friend. Marianne's like, well, Biden's done good things. Like, no. Everybody listen up. Stop being Joe Biden's friend. Okay. Stop being Joe Biden's friend. This is a fight. This is a fight. Okay. He is not your buddy. He is not your pal. Okay. This isn't even a boxing match. This is Mortal Kombat. This is how I see it. This is Mortal Kombat. You have to take the gloves fully off. That's what you got to do. This is not, I think he has a good message. I think he should have this message and run as independent. And I think he has to take the gloves off and knock Joe Biden out. Like, seriously, be Scorpion. Say, get over here. Flawless victory. That's what you got to do. Especially right now, Joe Biden is not at his best. He is not at his best right now. I told you he doesn't know where he is half the time. You got to knock him out. Don't be his friend. I don't know why everybody wants to be friends with this dude. I don't get it. Now, this is important because when we think about the donors, you have to understand that they have the final say. They are in control. And here's a clip, shout out to Case Study QB, proving exactly just that. Let's see who the donors have chosen, because that's what really matters here.
I think Biden, because Biden will have the establishment behind him. I really think the establishment donor class for the Republicans is not crazy about Donald Trump. Listen, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just saying that Biden will have the establishment behind him, full force. If he can make it through the campaign, obviously.
So there's a long way to go still.
I think Biden, because Biden will have the establishment behind him. I really think the establishment donor class for the Republicans is not crazy about Donald Trump. Listen, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just saying that Biden will have the establishment behind him, full force. If he can make it through the campaign, obviously.
So
the donors have already chosen Joe Biden. I hope everyone picks up on this. Everyone who sat down and watched this episode in person, the donors have already chosen Joe Biden. That's how it works. Just like Rupert Murdoch admitted the other day that Fox News was going to start promoting Ron DeSantis instead and move away from Donald Trump because the donors want Ron DeSantis. That's how this works, people. It's all about money. All about money. He goes on to say, even if he can make it through the campaign, that's how weak Joe Biden is. They're still trying to sell this guy. This is terrible. I can't. Now, new poll. Some of you may have seen a poll that's been going around. This came out last night where RFK Jr. is polling at 19%. I have a new poll from this morning that shows him even higher than that. This poll, 2024 National Democratic Primary, shows Joe Biden at 70%. I told you guys, I still don't believe that number's that high in real life. RFK Jr. is now at 21%. 21. He jumped from 14 to 19 to 21%. And Marianne's at 8%. Together, they're pulling away 29% away from Joe Biden. And remember, like I told you, I actually think Joe Biden's approval, the people who would vote for him, I think it's less than 70%. I don't believe that number. But this is not good for an incumbent president. This is not good for a president who's currently sitting in the White House to have that level of support moving away from him. Trump didn't even have that. Obama didn't have that. So pay attention, people. Pay attention. When mainstream media tells you that these are not serious candidates, obviously they're serious enough to pull away that amount of support away from Joe Biden. So what does that tell you? RFK Jr. is going to make things really messy for Joe Biden. 21%. That's just today. He's probably only going to go up from here. This is why I try to tell people, not that many people were going to care about his takes when it comes to the jab as they thought. Yeah. So let me go to some of the comments here. Thank you for the super chat, a kid. Sabby, RFK Jr. has too many blind spots. Number one, he believes Dems party can be salvaged. Why? Because innately, he's still part of the old guard of believers. I hear you, a kid. Notori says his campaign is a no-go for me. She had to coach him not to endorse JoJo. JoJo? That's what we call him, Joe Biden now, JoJo. Thank you for the super chat, Lyle. I am so thankful we have independent journalists being able to talk to candidates like him and pressing them. This might be the one chance we have left. Thank you for the super chat, GM. He looked naive when she brought that up. Very worrisome. Yeah, I don't know, man. It almost seemed like that was the first time he was hearing that. Greg Bruce says the Democratic Party gave up so many people. They're the anti-Rick Astley. You guys remember Rick Astley? Never gonna give you up, let you down. The Oracle says, what the actual boop, Shama Sawan. Thank you for the super chat, Lyle. Someone in the comments said Jimmy tried pressing RFK Jr. already, but it wasn't landing. I remember the interview. Well, Kim landed that part. I mean, I haven't, watched the whole interview, but she landed that part. Matt says hashtag AfroMan 2024. I did. I rickrolled you. I did. I'll take the comments on Rockfin. Let you down. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Scott. RFK Jr. has to realize he's against the same system that killed his uncle and his father. Yes. Yeah. And thank you for the tip, Skip M. Run independent with 1/3 of Congress on an independent slate. That's the only way Hennon gets anything done. He can get anything done, maybe. And thank you for that.